Just a minute, please. All right. Um, as you can see by the title of this stream, pardon me, these allergies are killing me. But I decided to make the stream anyway. As I was saying, as you can see by the title of the stream, today I decided to talk a bit about what is happening in the White House. That we all know what is happening. We all see it in the news. And the consequences this is having to Europe, the consequences this is having to the world, and my general vision, sorry, on it. And uh, you know, I didn't want to make this stream, okay, because as you can see, I'm a bit under the weather. But this is normal, okay? This is just allergies due to the warm weather. But I decided that I should talk about this because I'm watching things escalate, and I think it's about time we all around the world, but especially us in Europe, in the EU, in the UK, okay, all of us Europeans, we should be prepared to new challenges. We should be prepared to a new world uh, in which we are going to have to take hard decisions. And I'm being completely honest with you because you see, like I have told you from other streams, other videos that I have made, I sometimes just sit and try to see events and try to sort of connect the dots. And I'm not seeing good things for us. I'll be honest with you. Today or tomorrow, I'm dropping a video talking about how the European Central Bank, the ECB, that is now led by Christiane Lagarde, she was the head of the FMA, the International Fund, Monetary Fund, the IMF, and she's a very competent person. Okay, you might not like her very much because sometimes she's very cold. She's the type of person that thinks more about numbers than people. That is correct. But technically, she's very good. Meaning, this is a person that knows what she is talking about, and when she talks, I listen. And she said that they are going to try, for now, they are going to keep the interests in the Eurogroup zone at 2%. But that inflation is rising, and that especially the cost of industry due to the energy crisis is increasing. This means that we are going to get more expensive groceries at the supermarket. We are going to pay more for gas and fuel in general. That we are going to pay more for the energy, the electricity to our houses because we have not been able to completely detach from fossil fuels. The impact will be more or less according to the level of decoupling from fossil fuels that you have in Europe. France will be a bit better. Germany will be very much worse. Portugal with 70% of green energy but high cost of fuel because the taxes on fuel are very high, is going to have issues unless there are good governmental policies. But in general, all of Europe is going to suffer with this. Okay. I even thought about showing you videos and whatnot, but I decided no. Well, let's just talk about this. Make a good old fashioned video and just address things. Yes, yes, person impersonator, as you are saying here in the video, in the chat, and I will ask for all of your forgiveness because there's a bit of a time lapse here with the chat that I still have not been able to solve. But the decade is sounds about right. I heard 5 years, but a decade it's perfectly possible to be the estimated time that we will need to completely decouple from the United States. And I'm going to, but I'm going, since we are in this subject, I will also say this. The US will never be absent from the economy of the world because it's simply an economy that is too big. But there is a difference between we participating in the United States economy. I'm going to address this point in further down my analysis. There is a difference between being a part of that economy, meaning selling to it, buying things from it, and to be dependent on it. And the issue here is our dependency on the US. And I'm not just talking about defense, because you see, we are going to, and now I'm going to have to talk about this before I go further down my rant, so that I don't lose my train of thought. Sorry, you know, it's a bit hot. Let me just get some water. As I was saying, the US after World War II, especially, created a unique situation where it made Europe dependent on the United States. This started with the Marshall Plan, and then they carry on via NATO. We bought American weapons, we used American weapons, and then it continued with buying American supplies, buying American companies repairing our weapons that we had already bought from the Americans. Then it intensified with the Soviet danger, and then it just became comfortable. This is also Europe's to blame. Europe is also to blame in this matter. We became too dependent on them. But other American presidents before this one, they knew this. Okay, they knew that they depended on us for power projection, for keeping their weapons industrial complex happy, and selling a lot of weapons and making a lot of contracts all over Europe. The media companies, the exact same. I will, for example, here in Portugal, Microsoft has contracts with the Portuguese government. This is just an example. Almost all areas of the state use Windows and use Microsoft products. Google is also used, okay? Even OneDrive from Microsoft is also used. This is extremely dangerous, okay? And right now I am seeing movements to end this dependency. But what I'm trying to tell you is this. This dependency relationship, it worked up to a moment. And it worked up into the moment the US started its imperial. I really have to call it this because this is what it is. When it started its imperial movement of expansion in the Middle East, caused by Israel, but not just Israel. Okay, they wanted dominance on that area of the world. And as you know, Iran has always been the great boogeyman of the Middle East, and it has been a very comfortable boogeyman because they are trying to defend themselves against the attacks of Israel in the United States. There are also crazy zealots. Let's not forget this. I'm not here trying to say that that Iran is the good guys. They are not the good guys. Okay, let's be honest and let's call things as they are. But this began when Europe and the United States did not want to take in all of those Jewish refugees, and they had to take them somewhere. So they decided to put them in Palestine. And then it's like a body reacting to a foreign object that is inserted in it. And immediately the countries and the people around that area where the Jewish people were resettled, they began to react. And Israel reacted back. And then the United States started, and the UK too, in this phase, they started to use Israel as a convenient tool to keep those areas more or less dominated, so to speak, okay? And you saw what happened in Iran when the democratic government or elected in Iran, they wanted to nationalize oil, and what happened? The United States and the UK installed Reza Pahlavi as the Shah of Iran, and immediately he came out with very good policies of the emancipation of the women, okay, breaking down a lot of ancient laws. But accompanied by that came an authoritarian style of regime, where thousands of Iranians were tortured, thousands of Iranians were killed, people lost all that they had, okay, and sorry, and he basically he ruled Iran as an autocratic ruler that did all that he wanted to do. Okay, and they only were able to have enough strength to have a revolution because he got sick. If you don't know this, he got really sick. I think it was cancer, and he didn't had anyone next to him because he was so autocratic. He didn't had anyone next to him that could pick up the sort of pick up the torch and continue his work. And because people were tired of him. And people when they are tired, people when they are desperate, they cling to the things that they know. The Iranians chose religion. And enter Khomeini. You have a man that seems to be very righteous, that is promising you democracy, that is promising you going back to the old customs. You have to understand that Iran, Persia, is a very ancient culture. It's it's the same as any European country, okay, in terms of culture, even more old, of course, but it is at that level of culture, of enrooted customs and enrooted literature, music, poetry, history, all of that, and they cling to Khomeini. And Khomeini entered, and he started his Islamic revolution, and then he started to simply grow more and more zealot until we reached this moment in time in which we are, with the Islamic Republican Guard enforcing customs that are used as a form to control the populace. And then people started to rebel. And Trump said, he came out as, I'm going to help you, I'm going to help you. And that instead of helping people, if he had just shut up, he would have done a better service to the people of Iran. Instead of simply shutting up and keeping quiet, no, he said, I will help you, I will help you. Why? Because in my mind, he had this idea that he could simply sever the heads of state and create enough confusion for the Kurds. He wanted the Kurds to invade Iran and other nations to topple the government and start a revolution. But this is an infantile notion, to not call them completely dumb. Because you have a government that, number one, they have all the branches of governance separated. This means that it's like, imagine the Hydra of the ancient Greek legends. Okay, you sever a head, the other heads continue, and another one grows. This is how it works. You would have to successfully topple all of the component parts of the Islamic Republic government to be able to reach some kind of destabilization that was strong enough to allow uh, a group of people to topple that government inside of the country themselves. But these people did not have any support. Maybe they had some support from Israeli secret services, but I doubt it. Because Iranians, even the moderate ones, they don't like the Israelis because of, we just have to look at Gaza to see why they would not like them or any Muslim, and to be honest, any Christian, because just today I watched a video in the Guardian from the United Kingdom. I watched a video in the Garden of a Jew kicking a nun to the ground, nearly hitting her head in a stone bench. Okay, so I watched videos of them burning churches. I watched videos of them harassing Christian pilgrims. We know what they did just now over Easter. They tried to stop the Christians from celebrating Easter in the church where they say Christ was born. We know what they are doing because Israel is an ethno state. Okay, they believe that only Jewish people are entitled to live there, and of course that's ridiculous. But let's not talk about Israel right now. Let's continue. Iran became an opponent to the United States, to Israel. And it also became the only country that is really strong enough there in that area to oppose them. Because you see, the Gulf states, you know what they want? They want what they have always wanted since the times the first Portuguese traders arrived there, and they gave them cities for the Portuguese traders to trade. Okay, they want the same thing. They want trade. They want money. They want wealth. They want to be able to live their nice, quiet lives, and they really don't want any trouble. This is why when Iraq invaded Kuwait and cut off the part of the world's oil supply and started to make trouble to the other countries in the area, the United States intervened and ended the the Saddam and all in his regime and all of that. Okay, but that's another story. But you see, there would be reasons. But this is what I'm trying to say. There would be reasons for the United States and Israel to try and end Iran. Israel has its interests because it's trying to revive a nationalist plan of a greater Israel. What is a greater Israel? A greater Israel is an ethno state that is going to expand from Palestine and up to Turkey. Okay, devouring areas of Lebanon, of Jordan, and even of Syria, and even of Turkey. And this is fantasies, okay? But you have to understand that we are talking with people that have this infantile idea that they are unelected people, that they are some kind of divine people, elected by a god and all of that crap. Okay, and look, I'm not going to bash in the religion of people because I think you are free to believe in whatever you want. But I find it a bit hilarious for them to claim such a thing. Okay, I could also claim a lot of things. I could also say, like I was told when I was a kid, that I learned German paganism because apparently this was told to me by the person in my family that taught me these old customs, that my in the time of my ancestors, the youngest boy was always dedicated to Odin as a sacred warrior. So I would be a descendant of those warriors that were themselves of a bloodline that was created by Odin. And you would tell me, well, what a great history, what a great story, no? Something nice to tell in something nice to tell at a at a family gathering or some shit like that, or having a beer with your friends and everyone is already wasted. But we have to they don't understand, to me, to you, to any normal Jewish person, they will understand that this is fantasies. Okay, they will understand that Judaism is a religion that has a culture. Okay, you are not being anti-Semitic because you don't agree with what Israel is doing. You are a decent human being if you don't believe in what they are doing. Because we all see what is happening in Gaza, we all see it, okay? But to these people, you are the ones that are wrong. I heard these people, I read these people calling me an animal, saying that I was not a human being, I was a Gentile, because I was not Jewish. And if you go and talk with a decent Jewish person, they will tell you no, that is wrong. All men are brothers. This is what a Jewish person told me. Okay, and his grandfather was a rabbi. He told me I was interested in religion, interested in knowing a bit more about it. It's fun, okay. It's an interesting topic because it reveals a lot of the social interactions of people and the way it molds our way of thinking. And he said, no, that is they are trying to. This person told me they are trying to say that because 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 you are a Jewish person, you are called upon to have a higher moral ground, meaning to be a person that does not lie, a person that does not steal, a person that tries to live in peace with everyone, a person that tries to promote peace and not war. So in a way, it's like Christianity, because in Sunday school I was taught exactly the same thing. You know, my father, that was a devout Catholic, not a crazy Catholic, okay, but he used to tell me, my son, a Christian is known by his actions, not his words. He was the type of guy that would, if he saw a car stranded in the street, in the road, he would stop and help, or he would give a lift to someone, or he would do things like, for example, in our bakery, when we had bread or cakes that we could not sell, he would give them to people. He fed a lot of people, even losing money, okay? But do you understand this? And like Genie is saying here in the chat, and very correctly, it's more or less what he told me. According to their own religion, everyone is related. Okay? And this is the truth. According to their own religion, the Jewish religion, we are all related. No, and I read a lot of things about it also. I read about genetical analysis of Jewish people. And Look, they have some blood that comes from Palestine, from Northern Europe, a lot from Italy, Greece, and Spain and Portugal. Okay, why? If you go back to the statistics that historians have talked about, you would know that 10% of all the inhabitants of the Roman Empire converted to Judaism. Okay, and you don't hear Israelites talking about this. Why? Because this breaks the mythos of their ethno state. And the solution to this entire confusion has already been presented. A two state solution. A state for the Palestinians, a state for the Israelites. But they don't want it. They want all that land to be under their control, and they even want to steal more land. Because this is stealing land. This is ethnic cleansing. Okay, this is what they are doing. I'm not saying that Hezbollah are saints, but I'm saying they are a reaction to the actions of Israel. And this is weirdly, Iran is trying to. This is the most ironic thing of it all. By making a precondition to to have peace in the Straits, okay, is to have peace in Lebanon too. It should stop this. And this is completely ironic that the religious zealot lunatics are being more pragmatic than the Americans. Okay, and this completely breaks apart their entire narrative. And and you have this guy, this president. You, I think I want going to tell you my personal opinion. Yes, Ginny, you are absolutely correct. All religions of Abraham broke their own rules, then later made excuses. Yes, it's true. Christianity also committed a lot of crimes over the centuries. The Muslims also have have broke a lot of rules and as have also created a lot of chaos in the world. Okay, and Israel now is doing the same thing. So whatever. But I'm going to tell you my personal opinion about how this war started. He tried Greenland. It didn't work because he knew he would lose a lot of support and that he couldn't really do it, to be honest. He did Venezuela, where he did not obtain any victory at all. I know I keep hearing people talking about that, but let me ask you a question. Have there been any elections in Venezuela lately? Excuse me. Just this weekend, I saw an interview in Euronews where they were interviewing Delcy Rodriguez, the current president of Venezuela, in without not elected in service, and she just smiled and said something either something else and continued to do whatever she wants. The United States has no control in Venezuela, none at all. If they tried to do the same thing to Delcy Rodriguez right now, they wouldn't be able to do it. What they do have is a man that is a despicable man. He's not a good guy, okay? Chavez before him, he was a bit more he was a bit more moderate person, okay? He preferred to bribe and to jail instead of assassinating. Maduro is not a good guy, okay? Let's be clear about it. I don't think they should have arrested his wife too. I think that's a bit overkill. But Maduro is not a good guy. But the question here is, he was illegally abducted. The question lies here because the means do not justify the end. If you start doing something illegally, the end is also illegal. Maybe this is the guy that has 3 years of law and political economy speaking inside of me, and that has worked in the business for a long time. But I'm not a lawyer. No, I didn't finish my degree. But you cannot justify an illegality by performing another legality. Just like an example that I was given, and that completely sums up what Israel has been doing in Gaza. If a terrorist of Hezbollah was holding a baby, okay, and you were pointing a gun at him, would you shoot the baby to get the terrorist? You are not doing this. Is not self-defense. This is attacking. Okay, and this is something people have to understand. I'm not saying that what Hezbollah did was correct, attacking the music festival, abducting people, killing people, whatever. But what I'm trying to tell you is that by having this type of reaction, Israel is justifying an evil that happened without justifying it by causing more evil. And conveniently forgetting, like I was telling you back in my rant, that this entire thing started in 1946. This did not started with that attack. And like Ginny is saying here in the chat, Bibi is holding on to power because he has committed countless illegalities. And now apparently he is sick, and I don't think he will never see a cell. At least not in Israel. I'm sorry to say this, but I don't think neither him, neither Trump, neither a lot of the people that are currently doing this to us, because they are doing this to us, okay? They are doing it to me when I go to the supermarket or to get the gas pump. They are doing it to you in the United Kingdom, all over the world, in the US, okay? They are doing this to us. And they are doing it to the Iranians. They bombed this. Look, how incompetent can you be if you bomb a school filled with children and then you do a double tap when the rescue services arrive? This is war crime. Just like the war crimes that Russia is committing in Ukraine. In other streams I talked about this, but I heard it from the mouth of the Ukrainians in person and in interviews here in Portugal. I heard what they did. It's war crimes. Unfortunately, in mainstream media, it's very easy to try and just speak of the war. People don't talk about what war entails. War entails rape. War entails torture. War entails assassination. War entails taking all that a person has. A lot of women and a lot of girls and a lot of men have been raped in Ukraine. You don't listen to that in mainstream media. Hell, I'm only talking about it here in this stream because I'm not monetizing my streams. If I was monetizing my streams, I could not speak about these things. Okay? They would instantly cut my revenue in YouTube. Oh, okay. This is why I don't look. And I work every day, okay, during the week. This is why I sometimes I want to bring you more contents. I want to talk about more things. I want to increment the quality of my videos, and sometimes I can't because sometimes I'm tired. Okay, and I'm also doing other things. But you go to speed. Look, all shots, for example. Now he has his account hacked. If you don't know this, he's now in another channel called Hogwash Politics. If you don't know, please go and subscribe it. Maybe I will try to put a link here. And if you try to talk about these things, you will completely get shadow banned. I just had the video that I put out, I don't know, some 5 days or something like that ago, and they blocked a specific part where I know I was talking about something that they perhaps would not like. Okay, and and I've had other videos shadow banned. And I'm not complaining. Okay, I'm not that type of guy that makes a video to get thousands of views or whatever. Okay, if a couple of people listen to what I'm saying, and if a couple of people think about it and maybe go investigate it and make their own opinions, I'm happy. Okay. And yes, Genie, you are right when you say that Trump is a fame whore. You can look, you can write that down in the chat, okay? I'm not blocking I'm not blocking any swear words. YouTube might block it, and they do it, and I don't even watch the comment in the chat that I'm looking at right here. Okay, and I'm on live chat. But I swear in my videos too. And I swear because I know it awakes people. Sometimes, look, it's like Billy Connolly used to say in his comedy that you don't. You used to mock. The guy is really funny, and he used to say instead of saying fuck or fuck off, you if you said go away, go away, you know it it doesn't have any strength. Okay, it doesn't have that immediate feeling that the other person that is listening to you instantly recognize. This guy is telling me to fuck off, to get out of his way. Okay, but let's continue. Now, Trump, he came into this because he's trying to support his friends in Israel, and also because I think he believes that he could do what he did last year, drop a couple of bombs, and the oil prices would rise. He knows Europe is buying his oil and his gas because we are not buying it from Russia right now, and half of the oil and gas that Europe is buying comes from the United States. The rest comes from Canada, from Nigeria. Some even came from Venezuela. And this is a great opportunity to get some money. Barron, I think he won. I think he won around 170 million just in the in the first. Just let me detect. Hello, BS Detective. Welcome. And as I was saying, he thought this would be a good opportunity to get some money, and also as a form to distract from all the shit that is happening in the United States. The Epstein files, the corruption, his attempt project to 2025, all of that. But I really think that he believed he was stupid enough, him and the people that are behind him, they believed and they were stupid enough believing that they could just decapitate the state, okay, spread a lot of confusion, and maybe those movements that were trying to get a bit more of democracy inside of Iran would take over power or do enough damage to destabilize Iran. And Israel also could use this as an opportunity to finish up their job in Gaza and also to invade Lebanon and try to engage in that fantasy that we were talking about, uh, talking about of the greater Israel, which is the complete lunacy of an idiot. But you will find people in Israel that actually defend this, like that person that I was telling you that was calling me an animal because I was not a Jew. Okay, we have those types of people. So those people, they are the anti-Semites. Okay, now I think he believed all of that, and I really think that sometimes he just does things. He just does things because look. You and I, for example, we think about things before we speak them. Okay, well, sometimes, but we think about things before we speak. We think about the consequences of our actions. Okay, we make calculated risks, and I think Trump, either because he is sick, which I think he must have a degree of dementia by this time because of his life and because of what he did, apparently, that they are talking about. They say he is a pedophile, that he has raped women, that he has raped children. Okay, it's not up to me to decide that. You decide according to what you see. I decided according to what I saw. And then he also has this kind of infantile personality that, like the BS detective here is saying, Trump is Israel's and Putin's lapdog. And why? Because he worships the strong man. Okay, the guy has this kind of infantile fixation on authoritarian figures. Maybe because his father was a Nazi. He was a Ku Klux Klan man. If you don't know this, this is historical. Okay, it's recorded. Everyone has talked about it. His father's family were Ku Klux Klan guys. And ironically, if you didn't see what his latest crazy speech in the beaches in Florida, where he was giving that big speech to a couple of older people in a school and something. Again he talked about how General Lee from the Confederates was a great guy and that he did this and he invented this entire story about a hill and going up the hill and that the Confederates could have won the war and all of that BS. Okay? You will see this fixation to this day in his speech. And that tells a lot about a person. Okay? That tells a lot about a person. When a person runs out of arguments, they start to talk about things that they know or that they learn. Okay? And for example, whenever I start to hear fascists talking about Hitler and talking about all of this, I start to remember the stories that my grandfather used to tell me in German about what his German cousins have told him that had happened to a town in Prussia. And it would be very easy for me to just look at the final stage when our town was looted, burned, and erased from the map. This was in East Prussia, today Poland. It would be very easy for me to go to that final moment when the Soviets simply destroyed the town where my family had been for centuries, from the times of the Teutonic Order, just for context, and not see what happened before. But the issue here is that they told me what happened before. Before they entered in that little town where people lived more or less in peace, where they followed the old rule of the groom's family decided what was the religion the children would be raised in. If you don't know this rule, it's something like this. For example, if the groom was Catholic or Christian, and the bride was Jewish, for example, then the children would be raised as Catholic. If the groom was Jewish and the bride was Catholic or whatever, then the children would be raised Jewish. And this happened all over Europe, okay? This happened in Poland, this happened in Germany, this happened everywhere, okay? This happened everywhere because it was normal. And because, again, Judaism is a religion, okay? Let's not beat around the bush, let's stop with this, okay? I'm not saying that Jewish people might not have some bloodlines related to the Jewish people that lived in Palestine, but it's a religion. It's a religion like Christianity. It's a religion like Islam, but it's a religion that is also associated to a culture that differentiates themselves from the other cultures, and this is a protection mechanism, so to speak. But let's continue. But whenever I hear fascists talking about, oh, the Soviets did this, the Soviets did that, and then they repeat a phrase that I sometimes say related to the Russians, because I sometimes really feel this about Vertrau Ivan niemals, which means never trust Ivan. Ivan is the Russians. I also remember the other part. Okay, when Nazism arrived at that little town and they expelled the Baltics, expelled the Poles, took the Jews, okay, and anyone that was a Catholic that declared themselves a Catholic was a German from there on, okay. So I know I know what they are. Seven cousins of yours, BS detective. Yes. So you understand what I'm trying to tell you, okay? You would also understand that, for example, one of those cousins that told my grandfather what happened to our hometown in East Prussia, he told us what happened. When he arrived, there was a Soviet, he was in the Gulag for a long time because he was captured in the East Front. He survived, but he walked from Siberia to Germany, to South Germany in this case. In Germany, he must have gotten the lift because luckily the family escaped to South Germany. But when he arrived at that little town and he went to go to his family home, there was a Russian soldier sitting in the porch, smoking a cigarette or some shit like that. And he just looked at that cousin of mine and he just said this: Kein Haus hier, ihr Haus. No house here, go. That was it. Okay? And this is what genocide means. This is what, like you said in your comment, Netanyahu and etc., they are the Nazis from 2020. Okay? Because they are doing exactly the same. But we have to put this in the context of two unfortunate political characters that associated in a perfect storm of shit, which is Netanyahu and Trump. And you have the puppet master Putin, sorry, behind all of this crap. But he's also losing the plot, because Russia is also running out of Russia is also running out of escape routes. Okay, around almost 2 million Russians are dead in Ukraine right now. This is no laughing matter. This is a demographic catastrophe. And Russia has a lot of neighbors in near their borders with a lot of population that want to expand. And if we are going to listen to some experts like I did, and I heard two experts, one Portuguese and one German expert, that was talking about the demographic evolution of Russia, and he said this. They said more or less this. I'm going to try to I'm not going to go into it at a very detailed level because I'm also getting a bit tired, but we'll continue for a little long more. But he said this: Russia right now has 140 million people. It's the largest country in the world. In a couple of decades, meaning 10 to 30 years, Russia will have around 100 million inhabitants if these demographic tendencies continue this way. And mathematically, they will probably continue this way. And in 50 years' time, Russia will have around 90 to 100 million people. This means as many inhabitants. Hello, hell. Are you? As many inhabitants as Iran right now, or Germany. And they are getting into a state in which, for example, I will give you this example, okay? I watched it in Inside Russia and also in other channels that talk about what is happening in Russia. And they told me something like this. They told me that, for example, last summer, during fire season in Siberia, which they also have, the Kremlin did not had, the republics, they did not had enough firemen to tend to all the needs in the area. And they allocate. Sorry. Hi, Kate. I mean, hi. Sorry. I'm still getting the hang of this, okay? There's a little delay with my chat. They said that they did not have enough firemen to tend to all the needs that they needed, and they had to recruit volunteers, which were high school children. I call them children, okay? These are young kids, 14 to 17 to 18 years old, to aid the firemen. Farmers don't have enough people to work the land. Okay? Services are crumbling. Even the trains are crumbling. You know, if you don't know this, Moscow and the province, the area of Moscow and all of that, they used to have one of the best rail in the world. Okay, an excellent metro service and all of that. And right now, they had two modern German powered trains, and they had to cannibalize one in order to keep another functioning. They had to do this through a lot of the internal air transport firms. They are using, for example, they are using, just give me a minute, sorry. They are using, for example, low-grade Chinese parts to repair certain services in their own country. And a lot of things are collapsing. It's the roads, the rail, but you know, in Russia, they just continue. And you have to you have to recognize that from the Russians. They are able to support a lot of things, but they are also able to rebel violently. And there are signs that Putin is losing the grips of power inside of his own country. Maybe because he's getting older or weaker, but the people that put him in power, because you have to understand this. Putin, like Trump, they are the visible face of movements that are behind them. You have the Heritage Foundation, for example. It's behind Trump. It's behind all of them. And I think their original plan that started with their test drive, and you can call this conspiracy theories, okay? Please take it with a grain of salt. Their original plan, of which Brexit was the test drive, was to destabilize Europe enough to break down the European Union and allow Russia and the United States to regain a sort of a Cold War domination over Europe. I think um, I think Biden coming into power, okay, he reduced the deficit. Let's remember this. Broke down the broke down that plan a bit, and then you have Trump that arrives, and you have J.D. Vance saying things like, "The EU is an enemy of the United States," and now you have their plans that are clearly focused in destroying the European Union. Why? Because the European Union works. It's as simple as this. And I know a lot of people will say, well, but the UK this and Brexit and that, and I will tell you this, and let's be very clear about it. The United Kingdom is a state in Europe, and the United Kingdom, okay, deserves to be treated in an entirely different way of what Russia is treated and what the United States is treated. Okay? I will always I will always defend, even if I also defend, okay, you are talking about that in the chat, even if I also defend the Scottish independence, but I will always defend that the United Kingdom, perhaps a different United Kingdom than this one that we have right now, ruled by a bunch of corrupt people in Westminster. Also, let's be clear about it. But the United Kingdom deserves to be a part, with all its component parts, the Union, Scotland, Wales, England, and Ireland. Northern Ireland, that should be a part of Ireland by now. Sorry, but I also defend that. But they all deserve to be a part of the EU. And Russia paid for a lot of what is happening in UK right now. They paid, they are still paying for us. Because you see, even if Russia is economically damaged, that does not mean that their oligarchs don't have enough money and funds in other places like Dubai, even in Europe. Let's also not be let's not be naive to think that they don't still have a couple of supporters in Europe. Okay, just look at Mrs. Le Pen, that she changed her tune right now because she's in hot water. Okay, even here in Portugal, members of the Communist Party were caught receiving bribes from Russians and of other political forces, allegedly. Let's because I believe in fair trials. So this is not new, but I think this is where this connection between Trump and America comes from. Both of them have an interest. They are joining their interests that might not be exactly the same, but that converge in this purpose of destabilizing the world to obtain control. And the old order that we all grown um, accustomed to, okay, this old order that we all grown accustomed to, uh, it was working in an odd way up until, like I said in the beginning of my stream, this imperialist ambitions of the United States in the Middle East began. Because everyone was very comfortable with the United States interfering in South America, okay, and no one was speaking about it when they toppled governments and they did this and they did that. But when they started to interfere with the flow of oil and creating problems to the world economies, Europe started to stir. And it's back in those days. I was in high school when the Iraq War happened, and I remember it. Uh, Let me just ask you a question. L, do you want to be a mod? I need a mod to this channel for my streams because I'm going to start to make streams in Saturday and Sunday. Answer me in the chat, please. But as I was saying, we have a convergence of let's call it interests that causes all of this. But now they have this situation in which Iran did what everyone knew they were going to do, but that Trump believed they wouldn't do. They closed the straits. And by closing the straits, they are affecting everyone. And this will affect us for at least 2 years. This is what I heard just this morning in the morning news with an economic expert that was talking about it here, right here in Portugal. Okay, I went out and in my radio, and I went out and in the radio they were talking about this. We will be feeling the consequences of this for at least 2 years. Okay, let me just read a couple of comments here. Well, that is a good idea too. The EU start. This is what BS detective is saying here in the chat. The EU started to really react when Trump wanted to invade Greenland. Meanwhile, while Trump attacked Iran, he wanted to use this as a deflection to take over Greenland. Mm. I'm not sure about that one. But it's an opinion, okay? It's an opinion. But like Person Impersonator is saying here too, none of us found the Greenland threat entertaining. No, we didn't. Because I'm going to be honest with you too. I would I would enlist myself tomorrow to defend Denmark or Greenland or even the UK, okay? But I would not raise my weapons for the United States. Okay? But I don't know because he is I know we like to think about the guy as some kind of lunatic, and he is a lunatic and he is a criminal, at least in my opinion. But he's also smart. He's that look. This is a guy that escaped the draft by his daddy finding out he had cankles. Okay, and in this way he could not go to Vietnam. This is a guy that has lived his entire life by creating businesses that then fail. But when those businesses fail, he has already collected all of the money and invested in something else or moved his fortune in a way that people cannot reach it. Okay? And this is also a person, this is a person that has charisma. I'm sorry to say this, but to that megalot, to that mass of uneducated Americans, he likes to pass himself as the strong guy, okay, the guy that sits with you at the diner, having a McDonald's and in drinking a beer. And I know that for someone like you and me that might be a bit more aware of the world around us, that sounds pretty much as BS. But like anyone living in the United States would tell you, there are people that actually believe in that. And less Person Impersonator. Perfect term, con artists. Okay, and that guy Trump, he's charismatic. Okay, even today, when he was doing that ridiculous, and he does that ridiculous jerking off movements and all of that crap, and then all the dumb hicks laughed. Ah ha ha! So funny. Yes, he's so funny. He's so funny. Okay, but look, the guy. How can I describe this? The guy is a competent conman and demagogue, but he's a very incompetent fascist. Because sometimes he does things that if he had followed up on his plan, he would reach the objectives that people say that he wants. People say he wants absolute power, he wants this, he wants that. And and if he had continued with some politics that he did, he would have been able to do it. And yet, oh, hello, Alistair. And yet, we saw that he did things that were completely against his own plans. He created his brown shirts. His brown shirts are the ICE agents. Okay, he can use them to destabilize Democrat cities. He can use them to frighten foreigners. He can use them to coerce his enemies, so to speak. Okay, he uses the law to decide in his own behalf, but then he does it in a way that people simply start to react, and and now you are having reactions. Okay, but in my view, not enough. But you have, for example, you have right now his ballroom was cancelled, and then this entire business, this entire ridiculous business of the so-called assassination attempt, and what are all the mega maggots talking about, and what is Trump talking about, and build the ballroom. If I had the ballroom, this would not happen. I would have not gone to a hotel with the low low safety and all of that, and this and that. And to me, there are conspiracy theories that say that this was all this was all a plan, a ruse by Trump. But I think that for Trump, this was a happy coincidence, to be honest. Okay, because number one, that's another thing that this idiot has. Trump has a lot of luck. I don't know why. I don't know. But because if you go back into the footage and you look at what happened, basically a man came running into through the fence with a shotgun. He didn't fire one single round, apparently, at least not that I saw. And then you have the secret agents running after him. I think one of the secret agents shot or fired on another of his colleagues, and then they got the guy, they throw him to the ground, and it's done. Now, I don't know enough about this that, for example, I would not think that this guy was being controlled or whatever by a CIA operative working for Trump. But at least for now, my opinion right now, at least right now, I think he took advantage of all of this. Because I'm absolutely certain that when those agents, CIA, when the security guards, okay, pardon me, when they came to get him, and he was so apathic and apparently without any kind of response, they must have told him, look, there is some issues in the entrance of the hotel. We need to remove you from this situation. Okay, And then he talked with all of his friends, including Miller, which is the real Goebbels behind all of this shit. And he said, look this, let's blame this on the Democrats, and let's take advantage of this to build the ballroom and all of this and that. And also and look, and this is what he's been doing it, okay. and, and yes, and like Kate is saying here, it's this was let's not do our jobs properly and allow this situation to happen kind of deal, then capitalize and profit on the result. Okay. Yes. And the Reagan shooting was outside the same building, exactly. But the presidents have always made that little speech in that particular hotel. Okay. Yes, Miller, the sinister white supremacist. Besides, oh, sorry, and he's a Jew. Talk about contradiction. Look, but sorry, folks. I've been I've been doing this for an hour now, and what I'm trying to tell you is that he took advantage of this. I most certainly think about it. And we have a lot of contradictions here because Trump has done things like, for example, oh, yes, detective. Eine gute Nacht für dich also. Dankeschön für kommen. Sorry. Thank you for coming. Okay? And tschüss. Have a good weekend too. Thank you. Now, uh, as I was, yes, yes, person impersonator. Apparently, Miller is Jewish, or at least half Jewish, or something like that. And this is really ironic. And we also have to consider this. Trump is using a lot of the tactics that Hitler used to use. Um, what do I mean by this? I'm going to explain this to you. Hitler did something. Hitler did something that was very smart. We have to admit it, but also very chaotic, and it caused the downfall of the Reich itself. He used to give vague orders, vague intentions of what he wanted to do, and then he encouraged people to fight amongst themselves for the top tiers of his organization. So basically, the state was like a free-for-all mobster association. So, for example, the person that was, for example, a general that was in the army in the top tier, he would never know if one of his captains, for example, was aiming for his place, and then he could never really trust in them. Now, when the Reich was installing itself in power, this was very useful. But later on, when they started the invasion of Europe and the cold-hearted nature of the system required people to be completely trusting in each other and in their system, this became a source of problems. So you would have, for example, this is why, for example, at the end of the war, you had things like automatic machine guns, you had things like jet planes, but you did not have, before that, you did not have an industrial perspective in starting to produce those weapons as soon as possible. So, if we had had a more competent fascist, we would probably all be speaking German right now. I'm being honest with you, okay? But and this to me is what is happening to the Trump regime right now. He created the same type of mechanisms, okay? You have seen them all go away, you know. Noem, she was Bondi, okay? All of them are lambs for the slaughter. And I think that after this, when he's going to try to find a way to get out of this Iran dilemma, Hexet Hexet will probably be his lamb for the slaughter. Hexet or someone will take the heat, or maybe Rubio, or maybe even JD Vance. But JD Vance, it's a bit unlikely because JD Vance is a part of the Heritage Foundation. He's funded by APAC and all of that, and I have and I have my serious doubts that Trump will be able to move him out of the way. Okay, but these are my opinions about it. But what I'm trying to tell you is that this entire confusion in the United States is only causing us to in us. When I mean us, I mean the world. I mean Canada. I mean Europe. Include in Europe, of course, including the United Kingdom, for God's sakes. Okay. Uh, I'm meaning all of us to quickly remove ourselves from the umbrella of the United States, and this is going to have good things, and this is going to have bad things. Okay, this is why. Pardon me. I'm very, very, very sorry you have to see this, folks. It's my summer allergies, and as person impersonator has said here, right here in the chat, the plus side of Trump is that the opposition to him has reunited Europe. And yes, I think this is going to go forward, and I hope that we all unite to create a European project, because if Europe is going to survive as an autonomous unit, as an autonomous region in the future, and I think we have a lot to give to the world, we are going to need to be more united. We are going to need to protect each other more. And the EU is the correct path to do that, okay? Because it's a common platform where we can all discuss our ideas, our fears, and to protect our cultures, to protect our countries and our citizens. And I think it will be good for the EU to expand more, to expand to Ukraine, even. Oh, yes, sorry. Yes. No, this happened, Viper, Alistair. This always happens to me during summer, okay? When the heat starts, I start to be immediately affected, okay? And I stubbornly decided to keep doing my morning walks, okay, before work and all of that, right here in the woods. And I got a bit of heat stroke. As you can see, I'm even a bit reddish. And well, it was stupidity of me. Okay, it's thinking that magically my body would have gotten used to it. Okay, but I think all of this will have a positive effect on Europe. I really think so. And as for the United Kingdom, I'm honest with you in saying that you need to get rid of people like Farage. Look, I'm not saying that uh, we don't, look, Europe needs the United Kingdom, okay? Europe, Europe needs Scotland. Europe needs Wales. Europe needs Northern Ireland. Europe needs England, okay? And to anyone that says otherwise, in my opinion, you are being very naive. Because the United Kingdom, with all of its issues, the media, the corruption, all of that, it also has a lot to give. Okay, it also has a lot to give. The United Kingdom, even with that lunatic Boris Johnson in power, they provided a lot of support to Ukraine. They provided weapons. They provided training. They provided logistics, intelligence. Okay, so let's not beat around the bush and try to hide things. Okay, I'm not some kind of Eurocentric that does not see, for example, that does not see the part that even Turkey has to make in Europe. Okay, we need Turkey in our eastern flank. We need them there. We need to have some kind of support in that place, just like we need the United Kingdom. Okay, just like we need to have better relationships with northern Africa. Okay, just like we also need Canada, just like we also need to have better relationships with Japan and with North Korea, sorry, with South Korea. Okay, we all need this, and we all need to recognize the shit that is being going to happen, that has been happening. Okay, and like Alistair was saying here in the chat. Okay, Fartage needs to go. Okay, you need to get rid of those people. You need to get rid of those lunatics in reform. And look, and I'm not saying that immigration just has a lot of good things and all its daisies and all is fine and dandy. No, it is not. Okay, we need regulations to immigration. We need it. We need to control it. We need to know who comes into our countries. We all need that. But one thing is certain, we also need immigration. Okay? If there was not immigration right now, most of the industrial projects that are happening right here in my region, they would be stalled because there are simply not enough people. And you have a lot of people. Some of them are descendants of Portuguese, okay, coming from Brazil and South America. Some of them are, okay, but a lot of them are Brazilians and South Americans, even some Indians and whatever. Okay, these are all people that we need here to work, and these are honest people. These are people that are working to make our lives better, of all of us. Okay, and you cannot hide yourselves, or you cannot say look, I heard some guy I heard some guy talking about using machines with AI intelligence and that this will solve all of our problems and this and that. Well, in what world are you living in? Okay, in what world are you living in? Okay, in what world are you living in? I honestly, as someone that has a background in learning economics, in learning demographics, I ask you, in what world are you living in? Yes, immigrants can be a bonus to the country. Okay. Yes, person impersonator. You just you just told a thousand things in that simple comment. What we do need, and this is very important, and our governments have been divorcing themselves a bit from that important role. We need to educate people. Okay, we need to tell them how things are done. And if, for example, they present us with better solutions to do things, then why not accept it? Okay? I ask you this, guy. I ask you this, guys. You are English. you are English and Scottish and I don't know, Welsh and Irish. Okay, you are British. I will ask you this: don't you like a curry? No, I love a curry. So what is it so bad that just here in my area I have someone that is able, I have a Japanese woman that is married with a Portuguese guy that makes traditional sushi, okay? I have an Indian couple that makes some excellent Indian dishes, okay? I have another one, a Brazilian that makes excellent Brazilian food. What is wrong with that? And then you will say, "Oh, you might marry an Indian and then have Indian kids and this and that." And I tell you this, my friends, if I have them, if that, for example, happens, what is the problem? I know. You want to know why? Because I know biology. You know, biology and science and education. It's an excellent way to see the world, because each and every one of us that are sitting right now in these computer screens, okay, I'm talking, you guys are listening to me, guys and girls, you are writing right here in the chat, okay? We are all the descendants of 2000, of around 2000 proto-humans that survive some kind of prehistoric event. All of us. All of us. There was around, I think it was, we all had around 800 mothers. And you want to know how we know this? We know this because geneticists discovered this, studying our DNA, our DNA. Okay? And we were all dirty monkeys living in the middle of Africa. And people that go up north become paler. We lose our pigmentation because we don't need it. Okay, our skin becomes fairer because we don't need that added genetical blockage to absorb vitamin D from the sun. And if you go further south, you increase your levels of melanin because you need it. Okay, this is science. This is biology. What we do need to protect is culture. And you protect culture by educating people. Yes, yes, I don't know where Farage comes from. Personally, that's a good one. And it's what you say in Scotland, John. Yes, I understand. I know what you are saying. Yes, and look, we just have to accept these things, and look, and we need to understand that cultures, that's even states, they are not uh, sayings to be preserved in alcohol in behind a window in a museum. Okay, cultures are sayings that are alive. Look, I constantly talk about my own personal history uh, to explain a bit about what I know about these matters and all of that, and I always tell this, you know, if you were to make a genetic analysis of me, and I have made it, okay, for another different purpose, you would find that I am more French German than I am Portuguese. And why is this? Because in both sides of my family, I have German and French immigrants. And if I'm going to be more precise, I even have some Danish and some Baltic in me. So perhaps Baltic, Polish, something like that. They didn't know for certain. You know, and why is this? Because, for example, my grandfather's mother, she was still born in East Germany, in East Germany, in East Prussia. Okay. On my father's side, I have some French in me also, and they all came here, and they all married into the family, into families in the area, and they all populated this area. The town where my father comes from, the all of the population in that town are the descendants of Germans and French, some artisans, some soldiers that were their retirement plan, so to speak, was to marry them into the community, okay, and have them take care of a plot of land. And you want to know why? Because until first with the period of the Reconquista, okay, when we regain our sovereignty, like we will, like Mr. Farage likes to say, from the Muslim invaders. First with that, and afterwards with the people drain that went into the colonies, that as we discovered the world and as we established commercial outposts and all of that, we were losing a lot of population. So what did the King of Portugal did? He called people from France, from Germany, from other places in Europe, from next door in Spain. He called over all of those people because we needed people. We needed people to populate our country. Okay, in look, just for context, up until the 1400s or something like that, Portugal didn't reach 2 million inhabitants. So we needed people. What did I? What did our king did? He called people. He told them, "Come here, come and work the land." And then you had French farmers coming in. This is why there is such a similarity between some Portuguese wines and French wines, because the techniques are the same. Then you had German soldiers, okay, that came here. Some of them were bakers, okay. That is where my father's my father's family trade comes from, okay. And they all settled here, and they all created what Portugal is. But let me tell you this: I am I am as much as a Portuguese as anyone in this country, okay. This is my culture. Hello, CONCACAF. This is my culture, okay? This is my language. Portuguese is my language, okay? German is also a part of my language, okay? But this is my language. This is um, who I am. This is the person that is talking with you from this. And then you have, oh yes, Kate, and Kate, remember this. Uh, and I say, if there is a, a Brexiter in the chat, he's going to get pissed off at me. But you want to know how the English learned how to drink tea and how to take at least a weekly bath? It's when an English king married a Portuguese princess, and she took the habit that we had here of the of the rich buggers to drink some tea and have some crumpets and some little sandwiches and all of that at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And famously, in the night that they were in the night they were going to consummate their marriage. Apparently, the king had some rather smelly feet. and she looked at him, and this is reported here in history. It's a very hilarious episode. And she told the king, she told her, sir, if you want to lay in my bed, you are going to clean yourself first. So go and go at least and wash those smelly feet. And if you tell a British person that something that is a part of their culture, and that the British have turned into something that is very very much a British cultural saying, which is to drink tea, okay, because it was much better to drink boiled water than cold water. It killed most of the diseases, okay. If that is a part of the British culture, it was us that took it, okay. Fish and chips. You want to hear another one? I will tell you this. I'm ranting away, and we are completing off the topic of the stream, but I will tell you this story anyway. Fish and chips comes from during the time in which the Spanish brought the potatoes to Europe, and then Portuguese and Spanish sailors, whenever they arrived at a port, they used to make a dish that was something like this, and that we still to this day do. They would fry some wild fish, preferably some white fish, and they would fry some potatoes. Hello, Billy Kershaw. Welcome. And then they will sit at the dock and eating that. And people that and then people that used to be in the harbor, in the port, they used to see the sailors eating that, and curiosity, of course. Hey, what are you eating, and this and that. And then they started to do the same thing. Why? Because if you don't know this, until the poor people in Europe started to eat potatoes, only poor people, like sailors, like farmers, used to eat potatoes because the aristocracy thought it was only fit to feed animals. Okay? And this is why potatoes became a staple in a lot of places in Europe. Okay? Just like rice. Okay? Portuguese people, the Portuguese brought rice from the habit of eating rice from the east, and then we showed Europe that rice was very good. Okay, we took it to Italy. Okay, and Italy brought us the espresso machines. Okay, and today the espresso, the small coffee cup, very strong and very hot. It's an integral part of Portuguese culture. To have that nice cup of coffee, that to drink that little that little cup of coffee with a pastel de nata and an empada, which is a meat pie, a small meat pie. Okay, and this is what I mean to tell you when I say that what really matters is culture, and we need to educate the people that enter in our European state. Yes, it's wonderful. Well, thank you all for coming here, folks, and listening to my rant. But what I'm trying to tell you is that it's so important to educate the people that come here, because these people, they want a better life. And what we have to tell them is this: look, do you see our countries? Do you see our culture? If you want to add something to our culture, please add. Like I was telling you about, okay? I'm right here sitting here in Portugal, and I can go to a restaurant and have original sushi. I can go to an Indian restaurant and have some original curry. And all of these things become a part of our culture. Let's go no further. My favorite a cafe here in my neighborhood, is a cafe that is run by a Cape Verde lady with her children, meaning a black lady. And it's my favorite cafe because I can go there, I can have a decent espresso, okay? I can have some good food if I want to eat something. Why? Because their culture, even though they are half black, because if you don't know, the Cape Verde Islands were colonized by Portuguese and Portuguese immigrants that took black people from the mainland, and then they all mixed up together, and that is what the Cape Verde people are. Reason why their dialect is even a variation of Portuguese, their local dialect. They also speak Portugal, okay? And but their culture is very similar to our own. Okay, my best friend as I was growing up was a guy. His mother was from Cape Verde also. Okay, and this is very normal, and this is very look. And I know it's scary sometimes. Okay, I know it's scary sometimes. I know that, for example, someone that is living in some kind of a small yes, yes, Alistair. And this might be scary, and I believe that's, for example, someone that is living in a small village in England. Let's give this example, and that then sees these foreigners coming up, and they might be scared of seeing those people and say, those people are different from me. They are going to destroy my culture and this and that. And this is where our governments, and I'm not just saying in England, in the United Kingdom, in the Union, I'm not just saying there, I'm saying all over Europe, this is where, this is where our states have been failing. Because they are letting people in and they are not teaching them. And teaching them does not mean forget of all about your past. It does not mean that, okay? I'm glad you like it, Al. This does not mean that, but it means that, for example, if we have a culture where a woman can do whatever she wants, then we have to teach people, look, you cannot approach a woman this way. You cannot do that to a woman here. You have to be polite and you have to act like we do. Okay? For example, you cannot, for example, criticize other people's religion. You cannot criticize gay people, for example. Small things. And we have to be rather vehement in defending it. And I'm not saying to take in everyone that wants to come here, okay? This is not what is in question. But this is the simple fact that we need people. We need workers. We need people to enrich our countries, to enrich our lives. Okay? Who knows? Maybe the son of some guy that is today working at the harbor, maybe his son or his daughter will discover a new cure for cancer, or will discover a new technique to do something. Will write a masterpiece in Portuguese. Who knows? Okay, and this is what irritates me about people, because I'm not saying that, for example, if a person arrives here, look, I'm not going to be talking in English with you. If you are coming here to my country, you're going to learn Portuguese. Simple as that. If you have just arrived from the boat and you only speak a couple of words in Portuguese, I will help you. But if you are here for a year, for 2 years, and you don't learn the language, no, sorry, but no. Learn the language. You are not going to. This is Portugal. We speak Portuguese. If you want to teach your native language and speak it and whatever, my friend, I agree. And as Kate is saying right here in the chat, yes, food is very important. Food unites people a lot. And in cultures like mine, most of the discussions are done at the dinner table. Okay, we all sit down, we all talk, we all eat, we all drink, and we all think about it. Okay, no, Viper Sword, I may struggle big time with that. No, my friend. Look, if you can't speak it, well, you just have to say, well, I can't. Okay, but like Kate says here in CounterCaf, break bread together. It's very important. And well, and as a someone that has that has a lot of different cultural backgrounds in his own past, that has a lot of things that are sometimes how can I say this, contradictory, that doesn't act like a lot of Portuguese people act. I can say for my with my own experience that it's not easy. Okay, it's not easy, but it becomes easier. It becomes easier if you simply accept your own differences and learn to accept other people. Okay, and this is what I do in my daily life. I accept people, I treat them with decency, I demand that they treat me with decency, and that is all. Okay, I don't sit around worrying about I don't know 100 South Americans living in my town or some shit like that. Okay, I don't have enough time for that. Okay, and neither of us should worry about it. Well, folks, this is truly an all shorts stream. I've been doing this for almost 2 hours, and I'm really tired, and I'm going to have to end the stream. Thank you all for coming. This is a very unusual stream. A lot of people coming in, and folks, I'm going to start to make this weekend event every Saturday from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. I'm going to I'm going to start making a weekend stream every Saturday, and I hope to catch you all here in the next one. Thank you very much. Let me just write it down here in the chat. Thank you all for coming. I wish you all an excellent weekend. I'll be dropping some more videos tomorrow. Also, I drop some here, and thank you, Kate. I love to see you all here too, folks. I wish you all a great weekend, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.